Funny, I think we can prove this to be a load of crap. That meme, if you couldn't tell, was poking fun at, weekend mechanics who don't actually know the difference between a mechanic, somebody who works on cars and performs maintenance services, versus a machinist. But as funny as that meme was, and as much as I appreciated it, there is one rare instance where a mechanic, an auto mechanic, is in fact a machinist. And it's only one that I can think of, but bear with me. And let's go talk to a mechanic and maybe even convince him that he is, in one way, at least, a machinist. And let's prove to this this machinist page that in one way, mechanics are in fact machinists. So let's go for a ride.
Carter, what's up, man?
What's going on, Steven?
What's up? All right, I've got a big favor to ask of you. Could you show us a brake lathe and show us a brake lathe working? Because I saw this meme on the internet of a machinist saying that mechanics aren't machinists. Most of the cases, and for all intensive and purposes, mechanics aren't. But I think in this one instance, that is a machine tool. And if you could just show us a brake lathe working and going through the process.
Yes, sir.
All
I
right.
can tell you I can machine two things, and that's rotors and drums.
Rotors
That's
and
all I
drums?
got.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So this here is the brake lathe.
Yeah, so I got the lathe here. We have our cutting bits already in.
Cool.
I already have one of our adapters set up. I got the rest of them ready. This one's a Euro rotor off of Volkswagen.
Okay.
So it should be a little soft, but sure we can make it work.
Okay. And the rotor goes on top of that.
Yes,
and,
sir.
And you've got different sizes.
Yes, we got different cones that help keep it centered, so
Okay.
we don't get it moving at all.
Right, right. Because we're talking precision work here, so we need.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you check even on these little spindles that I got over here, these are measured in, millimeters and thousandths of an inch.
Wow. So
So-
already you're actually technically doing more than most machinists because they
Yeah, I'm actually
typically
measuring.
only work in inches.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah, so it's not too bad. I just got to make sure I get this centered up decent
Oh, wow.
before I get everything started. And one of the things we got on a brake lathe too is this thread here is actually a reverse thread,
Okay.
just to make sure this doesn't come loose while we're spinning.
So if it starts to walk, if anything, it'll get tighter?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I also noticed, this obviously, is a manual machine. It's not CNC, but there's no enclosure. And is that probably because there's not a lot that can really go wrong with a brake lathe?
Pretty much. I mean, all we're looking at is shards of metal, which you can see we have a dump right
Yeah.
here, all over the ground.
And
of
they're really
course.
small. That's really small chips.
Oh
too.
yeah. I mean, I like to step back usually because otherwise it starts hitting your skin.
Oh,
It
gotcha.
gets a little warm. But
Okay, so it definitely throws them a little bit.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So once you
Both
have the
sides at
brake
once.
rotor mounted onto the spindle, you center it to the best you can, and then the rest of the work, the rest of the walking in of the cutting tools is done through these knobs?
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
So even what I have here, since this lathe is built for doing drums and rotors,
Okay.
both of these spindles will actually move because this one's on a set that it pulls out as you turn the machine on, and this one's set that it also pulls back.
Okay.
So if I'm cutting drums, which we have another tool for, it pulls the single cutting bit out of the drum.
Gotcha.
And so what you have to do is you have to lock one of them when you're doing rotors to make sure that you're not
Right.
pressing into it.
Where's the second spindle?
So here's this spindle here, and then we
Okay.
got another one right here. So if I move
Oh,
this,
gotcha. I see it now.
yeah, if I move that, you can see it walking. Get it going, should start spinning. So I can already tell this one's wobbling a little bit. Yeah, so for this one I have to go nice and slow because it was wobbling coming off the car.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason we replaced them.
Gotcha.
So if I go too fast, like you heard when it starts squealing,
Yeah.
it's getting caught up because it's digging too deep into the rotor.
Okay.
So right now I'm going
So
nice and slow to straighten it out.
So too much feed.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Wow.
Which is controlled by me right now.
Yeah.
Normally this primary cut process is quite a bit quicker, but since this rotor's already warped, I have to take it nice and slow.
Gotcha. And there, now the lip is gone.
Yep, so what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna go ahead and get these off real quick. And what I'm gonna do is feed one of our vibration belts through there so that I can try to keep this thing as steady as we can. So that just is a vibration dampener, same thing as what you would find on a tennis racket.
Okay.
If you were going for that. Yeah, so it's not too bad. And you can see again when I start getting back on there, it helps keep it nice and steady.
Yeah.
And you can see how I can go much faster now because now the rotor's straight.
So why didn't you use that initially? Just because you needed to get the first cut in?
I just don't really bother for that initial cut, personally.
Gotcha.
Some do, some don't, but...
Could it also be because you also typically don't resurface a brake rotor this warped?
Oh yeah, that too. But so what I'm gonna do now is I'm centering these up so that I can get to my thousandths of an inch measurement. And what I like to do is a fast and a slow cut. Now, what I do is I pull it in 6/1000ths of an inch, and then on both sides, put it on my fast cut, let it run, do its thing, I don't touch it.
Okay.
Go back in, do a slow cut with 4/1000ths more of an inch.
Okay.
To pull off a total of 10/1000ths of an inch. Should keep the rotor within spec from the factory.
Okay.
So that way we don't run into any kind of problems. So I'm just loosening up these for the cutting bits, and I already have it centered up for my thousandths of an inch. Moved it to 6/1000ths, and I lock it back up. And looks like same thing on the other side. This one's already centered up for me. And now that I have it all good, I should be able to put it on my fast setting. And you can see it just starts moving on its own.
Oh, wow.
And now I just leave it be unless it starts yelling at me. So I just leave it till it stops making noise. Cut it back to off so it stops moving the spindle. Run it all the way back in.
Okay.
There we go. Loosen these back up. And I'll finish my last 4/1000ths of an inch to get it at 10/1000ths. Yeah, so when I'm done with this slow cut, even though that's a finishing cut, a lot of the more experienced guys like to finish it off with a die grinder.
Okay.
Just because if you have a scuffing pad on there, it'll help smooth out any of those rough surfaces left over. So that way it doesn't look like a vinyl record. It looks more like an actual new rotor.
Wow.
So that went according to plan. You can see how it looks on this side now after the grinding.
That's ready to take on some bedding.
Oh yeah, so I would just do the other side and pretty much call it a day there.
Cool.
All right.
Wow.
So that is pretty much ready to rock. And that would be a finished rotor. And all I would do before I put it back on the car,
Grind that part.
clean up this face here, clean up this face on the inside because you can see a little bit of rust buildup. And that just helps it not produce any kind of vibrations on the car.
Right.
And clean up the hub as well.
So you don't have to do it again anytime soon.
Exactly.
Cool, man. Oh, let me show you the meme. We're doing an entire YouTube video based on this meme alone. I was like, and I thought this meme was funny too, but at the same time, it's like, we've actually got one instance.
Yeah, I'd take it.
Yeah. And I think
they do call it machining rotors for a reason. It's
yeah.
not-
And I do think, to be fair to this guy, I think he's specifically like dudes as a hobby or working on cars as a hobby. So he's talking about Sunday mechanics, and you by no means are at no Sunday mechanic.
No.
It's a profession. Cool.
Oh, absolutely.
We're gonna head out and get you unmiked, and I really appreciate this again.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm gonna throw you some gratuity. So, we just found out that, in fact, mechanics to some degree are machinists. Now, to be fair, again, this Instagram post from somebody's page that I really love. They do good stuff. They do emphasize that they're talking about, you know, Sunday weekend mechanics, people who work on cars as a hobby, not actual professional mechanics. Yes, you know, to some degree, I am even a Sunday mechanic. Now, you even saw me backing away from the brake rotor when he was like, here, you can touch it, while it was on the lathe. I'm not touching it. I told him I'm too much of a sissy boy for that. Yeah, those type of mechanics, they don't count. If you're not using a brake lathe, only in the instance that you're using a brake lathe as a mechanic, yes, you are a machinist. So again, that was a lot of fun. That was a really cool video, and that's probably gonna be one of my favorites ever. So I hope we can top that in the future. Like, share, subscribe, comment down below if you'd like to see anything else like that. Thanks for watching the IMTS YouTube channel. I'm Stephen LaMarca. See you next time. I feel good about that. I just I don't know if, there's probably going to be a few things to cut out of that, obviously, yeah. But I trust that you can work your magic to smooth it out.
Yeah. Just
like that brake rotor. I come to you with warped content and you grind it down.
It's actually a very good analogy.
That's why it's my favorite video. Well, it's going to be.